It was the very early hours, just before dawn, of Martin Luther King Jr. Day of 1994. Tens of thousands of households across the San Fernando Valley sleep soundly, many of them with the anticipation of enjoying their holiday break, having no idea that this would soon all change.
Earthquake! We're having an earthquake, relax. Give me a pen.
You tell we got monitors knocked off.
Okay.
In the newsroom.
4:30. We're here in the Channel 4 newsroom, as you folks, there's no surprise. For any folks this morning, we've been hit with a major earthquake. Half the newsroom behind me has been disheveled, a lot of television monitors knocked off the shelves.
Dead inside the rubble of the hillside home were two people, one of them this woman's daughter. Also hard hit, the freeway system that serves as many as 13 million people. 3 major freeways, all recently reinforced for earthquakes, were damaged and are closed to traffic.
The densely populated area experienced the most intense regions of an earthquake that could be felt as far away as Las Vegas, Nevada. It only lasted about 15 seconds, but that was more than enough time to leave the valley in horrid devastation. Hospitals, shopping malls, apartment complexes, homes, freeways, and countless other buildings collapsed, many beyond repair.
Right up here, guys, to lay him down. Right up here.
57 people were killed, 9,000 were injured, and in many areas, power and running water were out for at least 3 days. Light pollution decreased so significantly, hundreds of residents called 911, some believing that the city was under attack by aliens due to all the strange lights floating up above, having no idea that they were simply staring at the stars in the night sky. Collectively causing around $50 billion in damage, it became one of the most expensive natural disasters in U.S. history. Because it experienced the most casualties, a town called Northridge was believed to be in the epicenter. Consequently, the event was named the Northridge Earthquake. Although about a week later, it was discovered that the actual epicenter was in the neighboring town of Reseda, but the original name stuck anyway. The earthquake measured a 6.7 on the Richter scale, a number not uncommon in the California regions. In fact, there had been over a dozen other earthquakes in California of similar or larger magnitude since 1970, though none of them nearly as catastrophic. So why then did Northridge experience such devastating results? It all had to do with geographical location, as well as a lack of knowledge and protocol. Other than the confusion surrounding its epicenter, the earthquake's name is also attributed to the fact that the event was caused by a dip slip along a fault line that was previously undiscovered. The fault has since been named the Northridge Thrust, but prior to 1994, not even the top seismologists were aware of its existence. The San Fernando earthquake of 1971 had the exact same magnitude, and it too was centered quite close to Northridge. But the most intense regions were located in the San Gabriel Mountains, an area of California with a widely distributed population. The Northridge earthquake occurred right beneath one of the most congested parts of Los Angeles. In addition, several other faults ruptured as well, creating pockets of areas throughout California that also experienced intense shaking, including Sherman Oaks, West Hollywood, and Santa Monica. Lack of information made things very unpredictable.
It's one of those unfortunate instances where we had to have an earthquake to find out where the fault that broke in the earthquake was. We didn't know that the fault that broke in the Northridge earthquake existed before the earthquake.
Given the circumstances, Safety measures were not designed to protect people from earthquakes that would occur directly underneath the city. So when the Northridge thrust presented itself, no one was prepared. Our misunderstandings of structural engineering made matters even worse. For the longest time, it was believed that steel was completely earthquake resistant. As a result, building codes provided huge amounts of funding toward the construction of welded steel moment frame buildings to essentially earthquake-proof California. But in many respects, this did the opposite. Over 200 of these buildings exhibited some form of cracking or brittle fracturing at their connections. Thankfully, none of these buildings collapsed, and no fatalities were attributed to these design flaws. But the severity of the damages was not expected, and led to economic disaster. Tons of money not only had to go into making significant repairs to these buildings, but to also fund research on new design approaches and repair methods to ultimately update building codes. Certainly all for the better, but it was still a lesson learned at literally a heavy price. Despite the intensity of its destruction, the Northridge earthquake actually could have been much worse. A great safety advantage was the fact that it occurred in the middle of the night when everyone was asleep in their homes, as opposed to in the middle of the day when people out in public are constantly exposed to vulnerable structure design. With the given scenario, the earthquake happened at arguably the best time, and this alone is accountable for saving so many lives. Even with its crippling economic impact, scientists say it is nothing compared to the big one that Southern California is due for. According to the US Geological Survey, there is a 31% chance that the Los Angeles area will experience a 7.5 magnitude earthquake within the next 30 years. Although there are no official ways of accurately predicting earthquakes, it would take less than 2 minutes for one of this magnitude to cut access to power, water, and the internet to over 10 million people. We cannot control any upcoming earthquakes just yet, but we can control the environment around us. We have learned a lot since the Northridge earthquake, and our knowledge continues to grow as the days go on. The event acts as a prime example that no matter how disastrous something can be, good can still come out of it, and subsequently, we have used that good to continue making the world a safer place. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and check out my Patreon to gain early access to videos and view exclusive content.